Hello, and welcome to the fourth installment of my readings of Menace in the Goldilocks Zone. Today we start chapter 4, and I thought it would be good to summarize the first three chapters. So we've met Roger, we met Peregrine, and we know a little bit about Cerulia and Ceruleans. We also learned that Roger wasn't always a gentleman farmer. He has a much more exciting and dangerous past than maybe his present lifestyle would indicate. And we've also met Salt, who is going to supply Roger on their journey across the solar system. But Salt is not aware that Roger is going all the way to Kryptos. He thinks he's only going next door to Mara Urba. So we also met Eddie, Roger's neighbor, who's going to look after Roger's farm in Roger's absence. And we also met the professor, who is a hand on Roger's farm, who wants to join the Dreads, the Dread Patrols, which Roger is a veteran of. So we begin chapter 4, A Change in Plans. Roger is enjoying a quiet breakfast, pondering his current oeuvre, an ode to the nectar blossom, fretfully vacillating between trashing the damn thing for its triteness or trying to salvage it with irony. His paints lie at the ready, but he is more relieved than annoyed when the electronic tablet strapped to one of his forearms begins flashing a series of lights, indicating an incoming message. Salt had persuaded him to purchase it as a replacement for his old non-portable computer, pointing out that it was of Iridian technology. He would be able to use it on his journey, which is still many weeks off. Or is it? It turns out the flashing lights did not indicate an incoming message, but an incoming call from Salt. Roger still hadn't learned the meanings of the different patterns. From his appearance on the screen, Salt was evidently using a similar device. "Good morning, my friend," Salt's mantle flashed. "I'm sorry to disturb your breakfast." "It is a welcome distraction," Roger replies. "I seem to be blocked." "Your distraction is blocked?" "Roger," Salt instructs patiently, "you have to hold the tablet so I can see your entire mantle." "Oh, sorry." He adjusts his arm, just then remembering to check the small image of himself in the corner of the screen that shows what Salt is seeing. "I was just saying that your call is welcome." "Oh, well, good." Salt appears somewhat distracted. "The reason for my call is that I have received an urgent message from Peregrine. It seems plans have changed. You are to leave for Mare Urba as soon as possible. Peregrine has arranged passage for you on a Mare Urban freighter. Here." Roger watches as Salt presses some buttons on his device. "It has given me a message to forward to her. To you." The message appears on the screen in Cerulean. "My dear Roger," it begins. "I fear we must move up the time for our adventure together. A situation has developed that makes our business together more pressing. I have arranged for your transport to Mare Urba with friends of mine, friends in whom I have complete confidence. Complete confidence. Their vessel is a freighter, and they are not accustomed to passengers, but I know they will do their best to see to your comfort. Make haste, my friend, but do not fail to see Salt and bid him farewell. He has an essential gift from me to you. I will see you on Mare Urba. Until then, fair winds, my friend." "That doesn't sound like Peregrine," Roger says doubtfully as Salt's image reappears. "It was so articulate." "I did not read the message, of course," Salt replies. "But Peregrine is not the simpleton its translation device makes it out to be. When should the Mare Urbans expect you?" "Well," Roger dithers distractedly, "I have to finish packing the rest of my supplies, let Eddie and the lads know when I'm leaving, and I should be there by day's end." "Very well. I will get word to them. In the meantime, I will have my lads load the supplies you have stockpiled here onto a transport. Send me a message as you leave, and I will have a transport meet you at the public docks." "Thank you, my friend." Roger's mantle flashes gratefully. "Could I hope for one more favor? Could you get word to Driftwood that I will need my dry dock today?" "I don't think he has one of these devices." "No, he doesn't," Salt confirms Riley. "He still uses that clumsy cerulean tablet, but yes, I will get word to him. Until day's end, then." "Yes, until day's end." The screen on Roger's tablet goes dark. Roger simply sits a moment as his mind races from one urgent task to the next, paralyzed by the sudden call to action. He looks at his table and sees the better part of his breakfast remaining there, and wisely decides to attend to that task first. His breakfast finished and cleared, and his paints packed away for his journey, Roger walks to the dormitories to find his foreman. He spots the lad heading out to the blossom fields and gets his attention. "Good morning, sir." The oldest of his workers, called Bright Sky, greets him. "Is there something amiss? You appear distressed." "Amiss? No, not amiss exactly," Roger attempts to assure him. "But I have been called to my journey early, and I know not why. Would you please take one of the farm skiffs to Eddie's and tell him I apologize for not speaking to him myself, but I have been called away early and must depart in haste. Tell him I would be very grateful if I could call upon his generous nature early and not when we had discussed." "I will tell him," the lad agreed. "So you leave today?" "Yes, as soon as I am able." "Well then, this is goodbye," Bright Sky says, a bit sadly. Yes, I suppose it is." Roger looks at the lad warmly. "I have absolute confidence in you, Bright Sky, and you have Eddie to turn to if you need to." "Thank you, sir. I will, sir. Safe journey to you, sir." "Thank you, Bright Sky. Say, is the professor still about?" "He should be in the East Field, sir." Roger thanks his foreman again and walks into the East Field, where he finds the professor collecting nectar. "Good morning, Professor," Roger greets him. "Good morning, sir." The lad's mantle betrays his surprise at being visited in the field like this. "I have been called away for my journey early," Roger explains, "and I wanted to wish you the best of luck. When do you join the Dreads?" "In 30 days' time, sir." "Well, I expect you'll be commanding your own skiff by the time I return." "Oh, I don't know about that, sir. I'll be happy if I simply don't wash out." "Oh, you'll not wash out," Roger assures him. "But keep your wits about you. It's a fraught service you're joining." "I know, sir. I will, sir. Fair winds to you, sir." "Fair winds, young Dread." His social obligations fulfilled, Roger returns to his living quarters to finish packing. His first chore is to collect the latest batch of sea salt from the large ceramic dish he used to evaporate seawater. The process had been greatly accelerated when he had taken the professor's suggestion to light a gypsum-fueled fire under the dish, the result being he had far more sea salt than he anticipated needing. He packed all of it away, nonetheless, as he may be gone longer than he anticipates, or in the event that outworlders may find it as valuable as nectar gel. He's just closing the standard shipping container of salt when two of the lads appear with a hand-drawn transport loaded with shipping containers of nectar gel, which they unload on the dock. They remain as Roger lowers the skiff to the water and then load the containers on the skiff. He thanks them, and they wish him a safe journey. All that remains is to pack his personal belongings, his paints and canvases, grooming supplies, and charging equipment for his new tablet. All that goes into smaller containers and onto the skiff. He pauses to look at his island, Eye of the Storm. The full realization that he would be leaving it and water for a year or more suddenly becomes more than an intellectual concept. The island and farm has been his home for a century or more. And though a year is a small fraction of that time, the reality that he too is embarking on a fraught business dawns on him. He has a strange feeling that he may never return. He casts off from his dock and unfurls his sails, grateful for the westerly winds. He notes the fully loaded skiff is sluggish, recalling the skiffs of the Dread Patrol, loaded as they were with their crews, rations, and weapons. The sun is still high, but shines in his eyes as he points the bow to Rocketon. Instinctively, he stays on high alert for dark forms in the water, but encounters none all the way to the public docks of Rocketon. He is halfway to Rocketon when he remembers his promise to tell Salt of his departure. He sends the message with apologies and receives assurances that it was not sent too late. Indeed, Driftwood and the transport await him as he glides up to the public docks. "Ahoy, Commander!" the harbor master greets Roger as he throws him the mooring lines. "Ahoy yourself, Admiral. I'm sorry about the short notice." "No worries, sir, no worries. Your skiff will spend the night in the slip, but will be high and dry in the morning." Salt's lads are expertly unloading the skiff and loading the transport. Once they are finished, Roger turns to the harbor master. "In a year, then, Admiral?" Yes, sir, in a year. Fair winds." Roger climbs aboard the transport, folding himself into the passenger seat as the Salt's lads occupy the front seats. The lads know the streets of Rocketon well, as they take Roger on an indirect, but because of lighter traffic, faster route to Salt's business. He is extracting himself from the transport as his friend walks out onto the loading dock. "Well, I'd say you'd made good time," Salt observes warmly, which is well, as the Mare Urban seemed very anxious to leave. "Yes, the winds were with me today." "Come with me," Salt gestures toward his sanctuary. "I have some gifts from Peregrine that it insists you try before you meet the Mare Urbans." Roger follows, understandably curious. Once in the courtyard, Salt leads him to a shipping container, which he opens and from which he removes a document and hands it to Roger. "My dear Roger," the document reads in Cerulean, "these are items that I hope will make your journey more comfortable. The first is a communication device that will allow you to speak to the Mare Urbans and others, and they to you. The second is the portable sleeping shelter I promised you. And finally, the third is a container in which you can mix up seawater and use to flush your gill chambers. It contains filters and purification devices so that you can use the water more than once. Please put the communication device on immediately and take it off only to sleep. You will be in close quarters on your way to Mare Urba, and good communication will be essential to your safety and comfort." Roger removes the device, which appears to consist of a net-like hood framed by microphones on either side and a speaker in the center, under which are two goggle-like lenses that Roger supposes go over each eye. A cable is attached, and with Salt's help, Roger determines that it plugs into the Iridian tablet strapped to his arm. Roger puts the hood over his mantle and adjusts it for comfort and to align the lenses with his eyes. The lenses are large and restrict his peripheral vision only slightly, but are constructed to allow the natural independent movement of each eye. He looks at the document. "I am sorry I'm unable to accompany you to Mare Urba, but it is essential I remain here to prepare for the remainder of our trip. I look forward to your arrival. Peregrine." Roger examines the sleeping shelter and sees it operates just like Peregrine's. The seawater container is artfully constructed and appears to be made so that the contents will not spill even if upended. Roger returns all but the communication device to the shipping container. "Please have these loaded with my personal belongings," he requests of Salt. "Load with your personal belongings?" Salt asks tentatively. "Yes," Roger replies with consternation. "I'm sorry," Salt replies hastily. "That hood obscures part of your mantle, so it's hard to see what you are saying." "Isn't that an irony?" Roger observes. "The device that allows me to speak to Outworlders prevents me from speaking to my own people." "The device prevents your people?" Salt asks, confused. Roger indicates with a gesture that the remark was not important. He looks around the courtyard through the lenses and notices that a set of indicators have appeared, and they direct his attention to the left. He looks that way, and the indicators point to Salt's pond and the water being moved by a pump to keep it circulating. A small notice appears on the lenses, moving water. He is just wondering why the device is telling him what he is looking at, when he can see perfectly well for himself, when the indicators once again direct his attention in another direction. Or rather two directions, as the indicator in his left lens directs him left, and the one in his right lens directs him right. He turns his eyes in opposite directions, and realizes the device was directing his attention to directly behind him. He turns and he sees two of Salt's employees wheeling in a hand-drawn transport. Rusty bearing, the notice reads, but disappears when the transport stops moving. The lads load the shipping container, and as they wheel it away, the notice reappears. Really rusty bearings. He is still puzzling over this when he walks out onto the loading dock and sees his belongings getting loaded on a motorized transport. Indicators in his field of vision not only point out the really rusty bearing, but also running machinery and heavy objects being slid. Ceruleans are aware of the concept of sound, or more properly speaking, of vibrations. You know how when you hear a thunderclap, you feel it in your chest too? Well, the ceruleans do as well, only they don't hear the clap, they just feel the thud in their thoraxes. They understand that vibrations move through air, water, and objects. It's just not a constant and important feature of their experiences. So Roger can be forgiven for not immediately grasping that the device is helping him hear sounds and interpret them. He finally does grasp it, though, when a couple of workers accidentally drop a container on the loading dock. The notice, large object hitting ground, appears in his field of view just as he feels the jolt to the loading dock. At this point, it is a little overwhelming and very annoying as the indicators are constant and insistent. He resists an urge to tear the thing off his mantle. It takes two transports to carry his provisions and property, but they are finally loaded and Roger turns to give his farewells to Salt. Thank you, old friend, for all you've done for me. I look forward to seeing you well in a year's time. Thank you for a year's... Salt gives up. You are welcome, friend, as always. Fair winds. Roger watches as Salt tells the drivers which space dock the Mare Urbans are occupying and folds himself into the passenger seat once again. The transports move out into traffic, and as they roll along, Roger is constantly notified of working machinery, blowing wind, and slamming doors. Roger wonders how hearing creatures keep themselves from going crazy. Sound effects by Rufus, my dog. They stop at the Mare Urban vessel at last, and Roger once again unfolds himself out of the transport to see a Mare Urban walking down the loading ramp on all fours. The creature stands upright to greet Roger. Mr. Roger, the notice on Roger's lenses reads, I am Captain Foragedam. Thank you for being ready on such short notice. Thank you, Captain, for agreeing to transport me. I hope nothing is amiss with my friend Peregrine. The captain's eyes grow wide for a moment as Roger speaks, and its ears cock forward, fully erect. That communication device is a marvel, the notice on the lenses read. No, Peregrine is well. She simply has much to attend to. Is this all your cargo? Yes, this is all. Which of these containers will you need access to on our flight to Mare Urba? Any one of these, Roger answers, indicating the containers holding nectar, gel, and fruit, and these two. Very good, the captain replies. Please have your people unload the cargo here, indicating the end of the ramp. My crew will stow it aboard. Roger turns to the transport workers. Unload here, please. Yes, sir, the worker who appears to be the foreman acknowledges. Salt's crew is an efficient one, and the containers are soon stacked neatly at the base of the ramp. Thank you, lads, Roger says forcefully so as to be clear. You are welcome, sir, the foreman replies. Good luck on your journey, sir. The lenses indicate the sound of machinery as the transports drive away. Roger turns back to the Mare Urban vessel and sees the captain emerging with 5 other Mare Urbans. As the captain had before, they all stand erect once they come up to him. Mr. Roger, the notice on the lenses report the captain saying, this is my crew. Burrowson here is the first officer. Naurdam is the second officer, and Larderson, Gatherdam, and Forardson are the crew persons. A pleasure to meet you, Roger says politely. I thank you for putting up with me on this voyage. Good gracious, the one introduces Forardson says. It talks. Yes, Forardson, the captain says, looking pointedly at the crewman, and it understands you too. The captain turns to Roger. You'll have to forgive him, Mr. Roger. This is his first time off-world. Of course, Roger replies, looking at the stricken crewman. It is my first time off-world as well. I'm sure I will tax all your patience on occasions. Well, we must be off, the captain says, turning to the crew. Get Mr. Rogers' cargo loaded. Leave it access to these 3 containers. The captain turns back to Roger. Naurdam will show you to your quarters, such as they are. Burleson and I will make the final preparations for liftoff. The 3 crew members drop to all fours and run up the ramp, returning quickly with loading equipment. Naurdam, too, drops to all fours to lead Roger into the vessel. Excuse me. We've rigged up a berth for you based on what Peregrine has told us about you, the creature says as they enter the hold. It's a bit improvised. They pass many shipping containers neatly stacked and strapped down, and then a series of doors. Those are the crew quarters, and the galley where we eat, Naurdam says as they pass the doors. Your cabin is more forward. The second officer stops in front of another door and stands upright. This is the necessary room, sir. This light, the creature points to a red lens next to the locking mechanism, will be on when it is occupied. Naurdam drops again to all fours and continues forward. Necessary room? Roger asks as they walk. Necessary for what? The Mayor Urban stops and looks at him, head cocked. For your biological necessity, sir. Biological necessity? I'm sorry to be so slow, but I don't understand. That's the room where you eliminate your bodily waste. Ah, I understand now, Roger assures the creature. But the necessary room will not be necessary for me. I have a different biology. The creature cocks its head the other way. You don't eliminate your bodily waste? Oh, yes, of course I do. But I do it when I flush my gill chambers. I brought a device for that. I see, the Mayor Urban replies, although the slow way it turns back to walking with its head still cocked suggests to Roger it doesn't see. They continue on past more secured shipping containers until they reach another door. The creature stands upright and presses a button, and the door slides open. Here are your quarters, sir. It's a modified cargo chamber, normally used for freight that needs climatized storage. It waves Roger into the room. The room is not large, and just as Roger is taking its measure, Fordson appears with his 3 containers. Where would you like these, sir? The crewman asks Roger. They'll need to be secured to the wall, Naurdam informs them both. Best stow them there. The officer indicates the wall next to the door. Yes, ma'am. Roger watches as the containers are strapped in. You'll be able to open them, Fordson demonstrates to Roger. Yes, but keep things stowed until we are underway, Naurdam advises. All right, Roger says, still sizing up the room. Will there be anything else, ma'am? Fordson asks. No, that is all. Go prepare for liftoff. Yes, ma'am. The crew person leaves. Your bunk is here. The officer pulls down a flat padded platform that was folded against the wall. Please strap yourself in and remain there until we are underway. A member of the crew will come to let you know when it is safe to move about. I understand. One more thing, the Mayor Urban adds. This is a cargo ship and not designed for passengers. We do not spin the ship to create artificial gravity. You will be weightless for the duration of the trip. You see the grips and rails along the walls? The creature gestures. Yes. Keep one in your grasp at all times when moving about, or you may be injured. Strap yourself in when not moving about. I will. A red light flashes above the door. We are about to lift off, Naurdam announces. Get strapped in. The creature watches as Roger folds himself onto the padded platform and straps his abdomen and thorax in. It will be a rough ride while we are in the atmosphere, the officer warns. How long will that be? Roger asks, anxiety growing at the strangeness of the situation and the enclosed space. About 20 minutes. Thank you, Naurdam. You are welcome, sir. The creature steps out the door and slides closed behind it. It is not long before Roger feels the vessel shudder, and the notification on his lenses report a generalized rumbling and metallic rattling. There's an abrupt lurch, and Roger feels himself pressed into the platform as if by a great weight. This continues for some time, and just when Roger thinks it will be endless, both the shuddering and the pressing abruptly stop. Well, that is the end of chapter 4. Roger is on his way, and the adventure begins. Chapter 5 will be our next reading. Thanks for watching. Good night.